In the quiet corners of Japan, a story unfolded that would grip the nation and baffle its most skilled investigators. It all began with a shocking event: the kidnapping of Katsuhisa Ezaki, the president of a well-known confectionery company called Glico. One fateful night, intruders broke into Ezaki's home while he was taking a shower and abducted him naked, leaving him in a state of complete vulnerability. A few days later, a chilling message arrived at his factory, a ransom demand that would set in motion a series of events, keeping Japan on edge for months to come. The criminals demanded an astronomical sum, 1 billion yen and 100 kilograms of gold bars, equivalent to about $10 million. They instructed that the ransom be delivered to a public phone booth, the location of which they would disclose later. But fate had other plans. Before a single yen could be paid, exactly 65 hours after his kidnapping, Ezaki managed to escape. In the pre-dawn hours, when his captor's vigilance wavered, he freed himself from his bindings, broke out of the warehouse where he was held, and fled to safety. He found help from 2 railroad workers who assisted him in contacting the police. The problem? Ezaki couldn't identify his kidnappers. He couldn't describe their appearances or provide any clues about their identities. The kidnapping had failed, but the criminals were far from done. They sent another threatening message to Ezaki and his factory. This time, their demands had changed. If you don't pay us $480,000, we'll contaminate the sweets produced by the factory with cyanide. To prove they meant business, they infiltrated the factory and set fire to parts of it. This act of sabotage sent shockwaves through Japanese society and prompted the police to mobilize over 130,000 officers to catch the perpetrators. The case captivated the entire nation, with everyone from ordinary citizens to the highest-ranking police officials joining the hunt for these elusive criminals. But the perpetrators were always one step ahead. They taunted the police with over 100 messages over the course of more than a year and a half. These weren't just threats. They were puzzles, clues, and challenges, daring the police to catch them. To the stupid police, one message read, "Are you really this incompetent? With such a large number of officers, you can't do your job and catch us. If you are truly professionals, you would have caught us by now. But because you're useless, we'll give you some hints." The hints ranged from suggesting the culprit might be an insider at the factory to providing details about the car used in the kidnapping. They even gave the address of the supermarket where they bought food after the abduction. "If you can't catch us after all this information," the message concluded, "you're simply thieves stealing taxpayers' money. People pay taxes for you to provide security, but it seems we might need to kidnap the prefectural police chief next." The criminals had a knack for attracting attention. They sent messages to newspapers and media outlets, ensuring their threats spread far and wide. The whole of Japan was following the case as if it were a thrilling movie plot. Despite their best efforts, the police couldn't trace the perpetrators. The only clue they could glean from the messages was that the criminals' writing style resembled the dialect spoken in Osaka. But this insight, while interesting, didn't bring them any closer to solving the case. After the first 3 months, the message sender began calling himself the monster with 21 faces. The case took another turn in September 1984, when another confectionery company, Morinaga, started receiving threat letters. "If you don't pay us $410,000, don't be surprised by what happens next," the message warned. It continued with a chilling announcement. "To all mothers in Japan, in autumn, When appetites are strong, sweets are especially delicious. When we talk about sweets, the first thing you'll think of eating is morinaga confections. That's why we've added a special new flavor with a hint of potassium cyanide. It's a bit bitter, but at least it won't cause tooth decay in your children. The criminals claimed to have placed warning stickers on the contaminated products, which were supposedly distributed in stores from Hakata to Tokyo. True to their word, 18 contaminated packages were found that day, one of them just 32 meters from Ezaki's house. The police response was massive. Over 130,000 officers were mobilized to monitor shops and supermarkets across Japan. But despite this enormous effort, they couldn't determine if the criminals had actually carried out their threats to contaminate more products. The police response was massive. Over 40,000 officers were deployed to monitor shops and supermarkets across Japan. But despite this enormous effort, they couldn't determine if the criminals had actually carried out their threats to contaminate more products. A breakthrough seemed to come when investigators found CCTV footage from one of the stores where a contaminated package had been discovered. The video showed a man with curly hair, wearing glasses and a baseball cap, placing something on the shelf where the tainted product was found. Unfortunately, the poor quality of the recording made it impossible to identify the man. In a desperate move, the police released the CCTV footage to the public, hoping someone might recognize the suspect. They also released recordings of the threatening phone calls received by the factory. Strangely, the voice in these calls sounded like it came from different people. Sometimes a man, sometimes a woman, and even a child at times. The case took another bizarre turn when the criminal outsmarted two undercover police officers posing as company employees at a designated meeting point. The next day, a message arrived. You think you're clever? Sending two cops in blue suits pretending to be employees? I saw right through them. I could tell from their eyes they were up to no good. With each move the police made, the criminals seemed to be one step ahead. What baffled everyone was that despite all the threats and fear they had caused, the perpetrators hadn't taken a single yen. Finally, on August 12, 1985, after a year and a half of terror, the mysterious man with 21 faces sent his last letter, announcing he would stop. The police were left red-faced when it was revealed that they had received over 28,000 letters containing clues and deployed 130,000 officers, yet failed to catch the culprit. Forced to share their findings, the police presented three main theories. 1. It was an inside job, with Katsuhisa Ezaki himself involved. This theory was quickly dismissed as it seemed implausible that Ezaki would cause such damage to his own business. 2. The perpetrators were seeking revenge against food companies due to a tragic incident 30 years earlier when contaminated milk powder from the Morinaga company had caused illness in over 12,000 infants and claimed 183 lives. 3. The culprit was a man named Manabu Miyazaki, based on a police sketch that bore a striking resemblance to him. Miyazaki's mother even identified the sketch as her son. Adding to the suspicion, Miyazaki was from Osaka, matching the dialect used in the letters, and was the son of a prominent Yakuza leader. Despite these theories, no concrete evidence was ever found, and the case remains unsolved to this day, leaving Japan with one of its most intriguing unsolved mysteries. That's the end of our story. And if you enjoyed this story and want to see more intriguing content, don't forget to like, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell. See you in the next episode.